I love watching people really listen to each other and try to repeat back what they understand the other people are trying to say. It's so heartwarming to watch people do that, and it fills me with a lot of hope. So I get a lot of joy participating. And then the other thing is I'm just talking about conflict and listening to people talk about the kinds of conflicts they've been experiencing. I was just filled with lots of ideas that I didn't get time to express about how to deal with conflict effectively, different kind of strategies to use in addition to empathy circle practice, or as little interventions that facilitators can do as part of empathy circle practice, that helps when people are having difficulty hearing each other.
Okay, personal opinion. You guys are rock stars to me. What I just experienced was really, really amazing. To the whole process of rephrasing what someone is telling us without judgment is a whole new process for me, but I was really, really motivated and looking forward for this. I have my mind full of ideas that I want to, discuss and share and all, and that's really good. I feel that my country is so far behind on everything that we are, experiencing, even, the real talk between people. And I have a lot on my mind at this time, so I'm digesting the process, but I love the rephrasing of hearing and rephrasing.
It was very special today. I mean, I love the method, but today was very special. I think we had an amazing group of brains in the room, and I wanted more. And I've learned that I can't facilitate and take notes at the same time. Or it's not, I can, but it's not worth doing, basically. And this thing about people thinking they don't need it, I think that's exactly what we need to rethink, because it's got nothing to do with needing it, but to actually want to show up for life. And, I don't know if that, and so it's how do we entice people to actually show up for life? And then if they do that, they'll want to walk towards conflict. But a thing that Nelly said was about people need supports, and they need all else behind so that they actually can be vulnerable, that they're actually willing to even show up. So, yeah, and many other ideas, but I'll leave it there.
I also feel that I need some time to process or contemplate this as being my first experience of an empathy circle. I am convinced, like I was before coming in, that I thought it would probably have a lot of value, and I'm convinced that it does. There are parts of it that don't sit comfortably just with my normal preferences and how I like to work with things, which is more open and less structured. But that comes partly from a very creative, very lateral background. So I'm still trying to make sense of all of that. And I found the conversations started happening about principles and values very interesting, and I've got some points I'll have to take offline there.
Yeah, so in the group with Sheila and Andre and Edwin and Sinead, I would echo what Andre just said, that there was a lot to the short time that we spent together talking that I felt encouraged about. And I'm familiar with this process, so I'm not surprised that I felt encouraged. The paraphrasing for me is key, and sometimes it can be really difficult to just find a group of people who come to that one agreement that the paraphrasing is valuable. So we had that agreement, even if it wasn't written down on a piece of paper. We all agreed that we were going to try it, and that to me is just the foundation from where a lot of very valuable work can be done. So we're just happy to have had the chance to participate.
I am in awe of Nellie and Marta and Andrea for their wisdom, and it was such a privilege to be part of that group and to speak and to listen and to be encouraged by what's going on and what possibilities there are for improvement in our planet.
Well, I really enjoyed our time together, and there's a couple of things that what you said, Shaila, I think it's so countercultural, and I think it's in all countries. So I just wanted to say that. And to André, I prefer more unstructured ways, but that is maybe because I have practiced, that accurate listening, and I love it when I see it happening, and it's so, and to be pointed to that we listen for something, we listen through filters. That in itself is so helpful. But then there's one thing, I really came here and I hope that I could watch somebody facilitate listening properly to two people who actually have a real conflict, because we have in Germany, we've had so much, shit throwing on Mattermost, and there's so much proof of that we don't know how to deal with conflicts. And we all know we need this, but there's so many people I feel I would like to invite, but I don't feel they have that sense of needing this. And I think that is my growing edge. And I'm so glad to have been here.
My experience was that it was really bumpy at first until I got into the flow of it. It's extremely hard work. I've done this, I think, 2 or 3 times. And it's very rewarding to train my brain to feed back with no judgment. And I felt supported and encouraged. My what if is, what if politicians use these tools? And what if we did coalition work using these tools, working with other cultures?
I'm very grateful for this kind of setting in Empathy Cafe. And I came there, I was with Lou, so I think I need those more hints that he would like to give us, but has been very helpful to understand there are many ways in which our empathy circle can be done. So it's great. Thank you.
It was hard because I had to remember the things that people had said, and it went straight out of my head. But it really worked. So it was a good thing for me to do.
Empathy circle. I hadn't heard of the term before. We all know that we are supposed to repeat back when people, for instance, are in distress and they're trying to tell you something. Instead of giving them advice, you just say, "Yes, I'm hearing you." But I think this sort of thing could be widely used actually in general life. In that, whilst I was doing it, what I realised was when we listen normally to somebody, when one does, what one is actually doing is one is deciding what one would say in their place in our heads, or deciding what our response is going to be after they finish. In other words, not listening carefully at all. And doing that really makes us listen carefully.
I really enjoyed to be part of this empathy circle group. It's my first time as well. And I enjoyed that when I was understood easily, and I also enjoyed when it was hard to I had to rephrase things and try to come closer to the other person. And that's for me as speaking person, it's more stressful, but it's also somehow a greater victory if you come through and yeah, that's one of the things which I noted. And the other thing is that I really am amazed about how perfect words some people found for things which are very unstructured in my own mind, and how they could rephrase what I said in a way that was enlightening for me. Think further about the things which I had started to develop. Or yeah, it's fun.
I'm impressed. I mean, I met people from all over the world this morning and had a conversation that was, I felt that was meaningful, that was valuable, and it's such a simple thing. It's such a simple structure, and I'm encouraged that this can be done. It opens a space. It opens a space. I mean, this is good stuff. So I mean, thank you to Edwin and Bill, the way that you've held this space. It encourages me. Thank you.
It was nice. I definitely had a lot more to say. I like the idea of empathy circles being part of the conflict process, and I hope that we can, write something that allows that to happen. And yet there's something that slightly concerns me around it potentially being imposed or something. I know we don't do that in XOR, but just that, I prefer that around an invitation kind of thing and a guideline kind of thing. And also that there are other ways of facilitating and navigating conflict. And I think the empathy circle is beautiful because it's simple and doable for lots of people. It doesn't require particular facilitation skills. So, yeah.
This was very encouraging. I think it's always helpful to see that other groups across the world are having the same struggles, because they're all human struggles. So it helps to reframe that as, okay, it's not just my group is completely failing. It's like, oh no, this is actually very common and normal, and it can be worked through, and it has been worked through before. And so this is very, it's just awesome to be able to do the practice with folks and see perspectives from across the world.
I think it was great to have this experience. It was my first time. As Alex said, we also experience major conflicts here in our country, and it's nice to hear that it's not just here, but it's a human thing. And it was great to hear and to talk with Lou, because I think he's had a lot of experience, and it's really encouraged to see that with some more trainings we can achieve a better way to communicate with each other. And it gave us some hope that in the future we can overcome these very hard conflicts. Thank you.
Is that when somebody reflects back to you, they're not necessarily telling you something different, but it's like having the extra information from two focused eyes. You get a different perspective, a depth perspective. And I think that is important. And I know that people are considering this sort of personal level with the political level. And I just want to make is, if you notice that basically the powers of authoritarianism are trying to divide us. And so what this does on a very personal level politically is that it unites us. The joke I like to make is that you didn't know me 2 hours ago, but now you'd let me house sit.